Hello, good morning. How is everybody? Doing great? Yes? Yes, I like the energy. I can see who had breakfast and who didn't. I didn't, so I apologize in advance if suddenly you hear some noises or anything like this. So today we're going to talk about PWAs, data. Again, it doesn't matter what is your background, if you are more like an Android developer, mobile developer, or you're just here, maybe curious about PWAs, everybody is welcome. So before we start, I have a few clarifications to say. First one, again, this is not only a PWA talk. How many web developers do we have here? Okay. Ooh, cool, the web. Amazing place. And then Android, iOS? Boo, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So again, the idea is that you have an idea about what is a PWA or how is it going right now. The other clarification that I have to say, very, very important, is that this is not just crepes or bloating. I'm pregnant, so thanks everybody for including me and also my co-speaker today. Let's start. Let's start with PWAs. So what is a progressive web app? Any ideas? How many of you, even though if you're a web developer, many of you heard about it, you're not sure what is it something useful or not? Have you used PWAs? Raise your hand. Okay, we have a few here. Something very important that I need to clarify is build a PWA is not something that you need to use any specific framework or something super advanced. At the end of the day, a PWA is a progressive web app, which means it's an advanced web app, right? There's a lot of confusion like, okay, it needs to be installable or not. Yes, you have so many advanced features that you can use, but at the end of the day, it's like a pro web app. Pro, that's it. So if you're a web developer, the idea is that you apply the best practices to build a good user experience, and that includes a few of them. So again, what do you need to build it? Just web development tools like, of course, our favorites, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That's it. That's the only thing you need. And then we're going to go through a little bit deeper into which type of features can we include, and also other stuff. So again, as I said, PWAs are just advanced web apps. That's it. So that includes some of the features like responsive, right? Your web app should look great, should have a good user experience. It doesn't matter which is the viewport size. The other thing is like it should be fast. This is very important, performance, okay? And last but not least, this is just to name a few, it should provide an offline experience. So this offline experience maybe can sound a little bit more complicated or not, but again, this is as the best practices. These features that you see here are not anything new. It's not like a new specific thing. Most of us should build responsive and fast websites, okay? So if we add some layers like offline and other stuff that I will mention in the next slide, we can have a PWA. So okay, I build something. I use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, whatever, hello world I built, but what's the difference then? So it can be fast, but then how I can differentiate if it's a PWA or any other web app. Very straightforward. You need three main things, okay? First one, you need to have HTTPS. HTTPS is the first step. And again, this is not something that super advanced that you have to apply to your PWA to build it. No. Is this the first step? The first step? So your web app is safe, and user can do trusted transactions, okay? Nowadays, it's very easy to implement HTTPS. Another thing, second one, and this is the one that is probably the most known for developers or not, is a manifest file. Okay, we're not going to talk much about a manifest file, but I will tell you what is it and why you should include it. One of the things that for developers relate immediately every time that you talk about PWAs is the ability to install it, okay? So again, you can make your web app installable, but the user doesn't have to. And this is like a very long topic that we can explore, but it's very simple to implement. How do you make your web app installable? You just need a manifest file. A manifest file is a JSON file that is going to have different values, like, for example, the icon, some other things like background color, what is the name of your web app, and so on. And it's going to make your web app discoverable. Again, this is not the main topic about today, but this is kind of one of the things that developers get more, not confused, but like identify PWAs and something that you can install. But again, it's not only that, right? And the third one, and I don't know if you're familiar with this, but as the opposite as manifest file, sometimes developers are not that happy with service workers, including myself. So if you're an expert about this topic, I invite you to be here on stage. And today we will see how we can do a better approach to service worker, okay? Service workers are going to be the ones that are responsible to make your web app offline. It can be from a very simple strategy to something that is very, very, very complicated. But again, don't be afraid. You're here to learn. So let's continue going. And the idea of today is that we have some assets to manage. In every web app, we have images, resources, style sheets. So how we can manage our assets in our web app, specifically into PWAs. We apply already HTTPS. And remember, something very, very important that I didn't tell you before, the HTTPS implementation is the first thing that you need to do. First thing first. Because otherwise, you're not going to be able to implement service workers. Okay? Remember that. So what can we do with our assets? But before that, there is something that I need to clarify, just for the sake of PWAs and native apps and this type of war thing or not. So we have two main different universes, the native apps, iOS, Android, or PWA. So what's going on? The main difference is like, the first one, you don't have every resource downloaded in a package. The other thing is like, you need a network to download the assets when required. Not every time, because if you implement a good strategy for service workers, you don't need always a good network to rely on. And then you can make some assets available on the client side. That's what happened in PWAs. Again, the main difference is you have a native app, you need to download the whole package, right? And in the other side, with web apps, you don't have to. So which one do I choose? Maybe you're probably wondering. Again, this is not only in PWA, this is like in every thing that you are going to build. It will always depend on two things. Your products. First one, you need to check how your product is going to be used. Is it worth it to make it on the web? Is it worth it to make a native app? Second, your resources, because maybe your team, this is something that we usually don't discuss, but let's say that you have already a team that is more familiar with Android. Check if it's available for them to create a PWA. And the other thing is like they can't coexist together. There are a lot of different scenarios. I don't know if you are familiar with Tinder. Yeah, I saw your faces. Or other product like Pinterest. So these products have the two main platforms, a native app platform, and then they built a PWA. So with the PWA, what happened? Why did they build a PWA? First of all, because the resources that they need to build it are much less. It can be very fast to build a web app. And third one, they want to provide more visibility to the client, to the users. So a lot of people doesn't download the app. They just go straight forward and use the web app. Another one that I can mention, it's one of the most popular, is Twitter. So again, it's not like this, or that. Check what is the strategy of your business, and then check which are your resources. And then they can coexist together. So for the ones that are more Android developers or web developers, again, we are friends. It's OK. So again, which are the strategies that we have to manage assets? To continue with the topic of cats, I think we all rely on cats for gifts. The idea is to not only rely on HTTP cache, because the browser, maybe it will make some decisions depending on certain things. So if we rely just on browser decision, maybe we're leaving behind a few case scenarios. So we have some client-side storage solutions that we can actually use, again, not only in PWAs, in general in web apps. So I will explain to you some of these client-side solutions. So I will start with the main one, the one that it has a lot of potential here, IndexedDB. Okay? So IndexedDB is going to have an object-based database. It's also NoSQL, right? And it's going to have an asynchronous API. Nowadays, this one has a lot of potential because it's fast. Again, it's asynchronous. And then you can use it, first of all, to save data that is very simple, objects, JSON. Second, it can work as a way so you can save local data, and then you put it into the server side. I will show you how this one works a little bit further. And then, of course, we have web storage. Web storage is the one that we most know, that we easily use. But what is the difference with IndexedDB? This one is a synchronous API. So with this one, you use local storage and session storage. OK? Again, the one that we're going to check a little bit further is IndexedDB. And then you have cache storage. So again, with this one is a collection of HTTP requests and responses that you going to be able to retrieve a response. So any of you have used IndexedDB here? Great. And I'm not sure if you're also aware, if you read some resources and check that you have web SQL, that is deprecated. Don't use it anymore. It's deprecated so long ago, but now it's officially done because some of the browsers say it's already like, no way, we're not going to use this anymore. So let's check some of these caching strategies. There are a few strategies to keep in mind. So we can do pre-caching. So with this pre-caching, we say, hey, these are the resources that I need. So I will use pre-caching and just save the information. Then second one is cache as needed. Let's say that there's a resource that I'm not able to find or something like that. I can just cache it, okay? And then, of course, we have APIs and web services. Those three implementations are very useful if you're going to use caching strategies. So let's talk a little bit further about IndexedDB. Again, if you didn't have the chance to play around IndexedDB, it's very straightforward and it can save a lot of time. And now there's a lot of discussion about what is the future of IndexedDB. I will share with you some resources of these and how you can participate in this conversation. Again, the web is a powerful place, so nowadays you have so many different features that you can apply. And in the case of IndexedDB, is a low-level API for client-side storage. Again, we're talking about client-side storage. It's going to have available different types of data that you can store. Okay, but let's see how actually it works. So the first part is, again, just think about like a NoSQL database. So you're going to be able to open a database. That's the first thing that you do. Second one, you create an object. I will show you which type of object you can create with IndexedDB. Then you start a transaction. Which are the transactions that we usually do? Read, write, delete, and update. Those four things you're going to be able to use with IndexedDB. Then you complete this operation, whatever it is, read, write, delete, or update, and then you do something with these results that you can use to interact with the DOM. So let's see some examples. You know, I'm very tired of this to-do list, so I think what is most important than to-do list, to eat list. So this is my first time visiting Nantes, and this list is something that I just saw. Yesterday I had like 2 crepes, so I'm available to say that I'm allowed because I have something else to feed. But again, if you have any suggestions about food or what to drink, please let me know. So let's say that we're gonna eat, I didn't have breakfast. I told you, I apologize in advance. So instead of a to-do list, we're gonna have a to-eat list. And this one is gonna be my object. Again, it's a JSON, and then we're gonna have a value, and then the name of the value, and then the value. So in this case, I will have crabs. A lot of people told me eat crabs. I did it. I ate a bunch yesterday. And then, I don't know, this is something that I saw, but I'm not able to drink. So I just put champagne, and where am I going to eat it? In Nantes. So let's say that I'm going to build an app that is going to allow me to create this object, and then I will say, hey, I want to have some reminders and push notifications about my to-do list. I can completely do it with IndexedDB. In this case, this is the type of object that you're going to be able to store. JSON, name of the value, and the value. That's it, okay? So again, any suggestions, I'm more than happy to listen. What type of stuff am I going to eat? Okay, so let's see some limitations of this type of client-side storage, okay? Now it's kind of tricky because you're not gonna have internationalized sorting. So again, this is a no relational database. So whatever it is in terms of query, you can do some queries, but it should be simple. Nowadays, the W3C and there are some other APIs that Chromium is trying to push, is to have more complicated queries, but this is something that is still not that advanced. What is other thing that we have to keep in mind? Synchronizing with server-side data. You can. The idea is to have data available that you are using locally, and then use it with the server-side data. But you need to take care because you need to save this information first. Full text searching, again, querying, everything that is related with querying is not that advanced. So if you need to do complicated queries like where, or like more like the other side, the normal SQL, check which type of queries you need. This is going to happen to you in every no-relational structure. Just think about which type of data you will need, and then check which is the structure that you will use, okay? Remember, no relational database are not the same that SQL. And of course, you need to be aware of private modes and others. Why? Because especially if you are using your web app and then you open in private mode, probably you will lose all your data that you have stored locally. So keep in mind this case scenario. So let's see how it works. If you want to check an example of this, you can go to this website, to itlist.glitch.me, and then the whole code of this to itlist with push notifications and update, delete, and save data is in this code. So I will leave this slide. But let's see how it works, just to give you an example. Again, this is very straightforward. You can use to store information locally in your client side. So how it works, let's try to. This is going to show you not only to itlist, also my abilities as a designer. And it is very simple. I just put what am I going to eat using the data that I show you in that structure, right? And then a time, so where I want to have it and push notifications, and then the date. If I added, it would use IndexedDB to save that object. And then, I don't know if you're able to see a little bit down, you're going to be able to see which type of operations are happening with IndexedDB. Deleted, push, and so on. So this is available for you to test. Actually, you can try now. Again, I will go to the previous slide. If you go to itlist.glitch.me, you can actually check and use your own data. Of course, what happens, you're going to have your own to-do list, and I'm going to have my own. It's not going to sync between it. This is client-side storage. So remember that. And now, let's see, service workers. My friends, service workers. So service workers can be very useful and can be complicated or simple. Again, service workers' main job is to give you the offline capability. But also, it can be in charge of push notifications and other things. Also, it can make your web app faster. But let's focus today in the other strategy that is related with service workers, the offline experience, okay? So here is a very, very simple way to build a service worker. Probably if you are using a PWA, you use tools like Workbox or even PWA Builder. I really recommend those too. But if you don't have any experience building a PWA, try to build your own service worker. You can do it. I believe in you. But it's not only that, it's just that it gives you an idea about which are the steps for a service worker to actually be implemented as a PWA. So let me explain a little bit of what you are able to see in the screen. You have, first of all, you build an array with all the resources that you want to use to catch. Again, it can be images, CSS, one HTML, right? And the first step for your service worker is going to be install. So what is going to happen is going to check, is these service workers already available in the browser? Yes. So I'm not going to do anything. If not, I will install it, OK? So in the install event, it will perform all the install steps. So in this case, it will use the URLs to catch, and then something that you need to remember is that we're going to use these different events to use every step of the service worker. Again, if you implement this, this is the first step of your service worker. What happens with offline ready? This is very important because sometimes we always think, okay, we all going to have a very fast network or whatever. No. Think about your user. Your user is sometimes in conditions that is not going to be able to have very fast a network. Maybe it's going to be, I don't know, if you go in the subway, suddenly you don't have internet anymore. So you need to give your user a good user experience. So how many times you're actually doing something, and then the dinosaur appears, and you're like, really, I missed all my work or whatever I was doing. At least tell the user, hey, you are offline, OK? That's it. If you just do that, if you just implement a page that it says, hey, you're offline, or we're coming back later, or whatever, it gives a better user experience. So how you can make this with service worker? Remember, I will go to the previous slide. In the URLs to catch, I also include an offline.html. That is my backup page, just in case that I don't have any network at all. OK? So in this offline.html, I can include whatever you want. Again, a message, or even like a game, whatever. There are some products, I don't remember which newspaper, I think in the UK, that implemented a crossword so people can be distracted while the connection comes back again. But again, it's just a simple message that makes a difference, saying, hey, you are offline. And then what do? The second step is to actually implement your service worker. And this is the magic that allows you to do that. To manage your requests is fetch. Fetch is the event that you're going to use to actually try to check this HTTP request and do something. Which type of stuff you can do? Whatever. OK, so in this case, let's go back to the offline website that we want to include in the case that a network is not available anymore. So I already installed the service worker. And then the second part is, if I'm not able to retrieve any response that includes HTML or HTML, any request at all, I will show in the offline HTML. So again, if the fetch doesn't work, which I will use, catch. Catch is going to be also the star of this, because in catch, you will say, hey, use this fallback page. Okay? Again, this is, if you implement this step by step, at least you're going to have, hey, you're not online anymore. And now, how we implement these service worker strategies, because you will see that there are so many. Again, to review what we've been talking before, first thing first, try at least to implement an offline fallback page, at least. And then you're going to have a lot of different assets. You're going to have, as I mentioned before, do you want to do catching first, or which type of strategies you can use. The other idea that I want to share with you is that you can implement a service worker strategy depending on your resource. For example, you can say, hey, let's say that you have a website that is calling an external resource that is an image, okay? And that image is coming from an external API. What happens sometimes you don't have that image available, so you have that awful square with a sad face over there, and you want to have some backup image. So you can do this with Service Worker. What is the main difference? Again, we're going to use the part that we're going to check which type of resource is it, but the main difference is before we use in the first line, we use include HTML or text, and then in this case, if we want to check images, we can use the response image. And then again, do something. So in this case, what we are doing is a little bit more complicated. Let's say that I want to check in the line of catch, right? In this part, I tell them what to do. So if that request includes whatever is the image that you want to make sure that is always available, in this case, it was something that was related with COVID. If that is not available, please use this one that is catch, okay? And if not any of these is available anyway, or if that is not the case, just for any type of image that is not available, use the other one, the header, okay? You can tell your service worker which backup you can use. Remember that. Again, so with these, you already know which type of strategy you can implement. Catching first, if you use catching first, that's something that we used before, the one that, hey, save me these resources. If this is not available in the catch, use these ones. And then network first, network only, or catch only. This one, with catch first, you can fall back always to the network. If you use network first, you can always fall back to the catch. But again, you will see what is a good strategy for you depending on your resources and how you're using this service worker. So if we combine a good catching strategy, again, catching strategy is not separated of your service worker. It's like you implement both things together. If we combine a good catching strategy and a service worker, what do we have? Reliability. So this is like coming to Nantes. You know that you're going to have a good time, and you're going to eat a lot of crepes, so you can trust that you can come here. Same if in your web app, you're going to have a reliable experience for your user. It doesn't matter which type of internet connection the user is having. So let's try to see which are the type of stuff that we saw today. First one is we manage assets in our PWA. We check what is a PWA, what do we need to build a PWA. I think everything was clear, right? What do we need? HTTPS, what else? I just want to know that nobody's sleeping. At least, what else after HTTPS? Manifest file, right, and service worker. Then we check new caching options on the client side. For example, IndexedDB. We know already that WebSQL is not available anymore, but we have instead web storage and then caching. We talk a little bit about IndexedDB API. With IndexedDB, remember that there's a lot of discussion going on around, so I invite you all to participate in that discussion. I will tell you how. And then level up a little bit of your service worker, that you know that service worker have many different strategies, but you can also use your own strategy depending on your resource. You can have an offline fallback page. You can also check which type of resource you want to manage, for example, an image, if it's not available in your network. So let's talk about the resources. I don't know if you were here yesterday, but here is Maximiliano Friedman. He is one of the gurus of PWA, so that's a resource. I didn't put it there, but if you have any questions, don't ask me, ask him. Sorry, Maxi, if you're seeing this, but the other thing that I have to share with you is you can check our blogs. Another book that I have to suggest is Going Offline by Jeremy Keith. That's a fantastic book. It will share some of the strategies deep, very, very deep in code, and also you're going to be able to see which are the examples. Of course, MDN documentation and web.dev. If you're interested in to see what's going on with IndexedDB, what is the future? Are we going to be able to use queries or not? Check what's going on with the W3C. If you're not familiar with W3C, W3C is the organization that builds standards for the web. And currently, there is a discussion around what is going to happen with IndexedDB. So check this out, how you can check that. Every discussion is available open source with GitHub. The working group that is checking this is called Web Apps. So everything is open and everybody can participate. So I didn't even introduce myself. So now that I got your attention, I can introduce myself. Please feel free to come and ask me any question that you would like to know. Things about pregnancy, whatever, or anything like that. So if you are wondering where is my accent coming from, and because it's very weird, I'm originally from Argentina, but I'm based in London, UK. I've been living before that, like 3 years as a digital nomad. I'm a Women Tech Makers ambassador and Google developer expert for Firebase. And currently, I work as a developer advocate or developer relations at Samsung Internet. So what is what Samsung Internet? So this is like the commercials of my company. Because Samsung has a browser that is based in Chromium. That's why I'm very involved with the web. Everything is, what you do is available and related with Chromium, and also we check which are the new standards for the web. What is going to happen with the web? We work with Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Firefox, sometimes with Safari, and check which are the next options for web apps in general. And of course, at W3C. So you can check our blog, where we also have some tutorials about this. And yeah, grazie, merci, gracias. And of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to chat with me about anything. You can come and hang out. Merci.